Hi there, my name is David Batsoffen and I host a travel blog called Travel and Things. Clever that. And currently I'm doing a series called In Conversation With. And today I'm in conversation with Claudine Ullman, who is a comedian as well as what? Claudine?
As well as so many things, David. First of all, as well as being grateful for being on the show, but I am a facilitator. I am an actress. I do whatever I can in the industry. Let's just say that. I do it all. I mean, make tea, but I wouldn't call that a profession. I don't do that professionally. I'm not that good.
There are professional tea makers, you know.
That's what I'm saying. I'm definitely not one of them. Comedy, yes. Tea, no.
I had to interview one years ago on radio, but he came with a script. So I had to say, like, good day. And he would say, good day to you. How do you make a cup of tea? Well, David, you make a cup of tea. And I took the script out of his hand and I tore it up. And I said to him, talk to me about making tea. And he ummed and ahed for the next 20 minutes before I let him go, went straight to our station manager and complained about me. And when I got called in, I said, but listen, if he doesn't know his product, I'm sorry, I'm not interested in reading back and forth. He could have come in and read to himself. So
yeah, you want to have a chat.
Exactly.
People, that's what I do. David, you asked me what I do. What I do is I teach people how to improvise.
Okay.
I teach people how to improvise. So when we're improvising, which is comedy, for those of you who don't know what improv is comedy that is made up on the spot. Okay?
Right.
It's like the Bill Murrays, the Tina Feys, the Saturday Night Live humans. That's improv. And basically, I teach people to use this part of the brain, your prefrontal cortex.
Okay.
This is the part of the brain that lights up when we creatively visualize, when we meditate. Okay, this really is the creative center. The part of the brain that goes cold, somewhere over here, is the part of the brain that says, I'm not good enough, I can't do it, second guessing myself, self-sabotage. That part of the brain actually goes cold. And what I do is I give people the tools to operate and live from this part of the brain. So that's the technical bit of what I do, the training of what I do. And I usually train people who are, I do train comedians, but I train people who are accountants and finance humans, and I don't even know what they bloody do.
I love that, finance humans.
Yes, all of us need not only to improvise, but we need to be able to apply the skills learned to our everyday lives. So a big chunk of what I'm doing, especially at the moment, is using comedy to curb your anxiety. So how do we teach people the tools to say, usually when this happens, I would go into a panic attack. It's a global pandemic. I'm uncertain of what's next. I'm worrying. I'm this, I'm that. Cool. I now have the tools to deal.
Yeah.
I have the tools to cope.
Because that's what In Conversation is all about. It's my way of coping with this pandemic, because I get to talk to interesting people like yourself.
Totally. I've got a show called The Big Time where I do the exact same thing. I speak to industry greats and I get to be inspired, and people who are watching get to be inspired, not only about their journey and how they've hit the big time, but also how they are coping and surviving and dealing during this insane time.
Just as a matter of interest, do you find that captains of industry that use your expertise are willing to listen? Because I know I've dealt with some of them who are terrifyingly bad in front of an audience, but they won't take direction. They'd rather continue to be terrifyingly bad, not noticing that 3/4 of their audience has fallen asleep and the other quarter has actually left the building. So they're talking to nobody, basically.
Well, you know, the great thing about improv, David, is getting somebody to get into the room, whether it's on Zoom or whether it's in the actual room, the biggest hurdle, because people are so terrified of what it means. Oh, she's going to make me perform. I'm not a performer. And it's not about that at all. A lot of people think improv is, look at me, I'm the star of the show. But it's not. It's all teamwork. It's all support. So you're doing this thing together. So you're never feeling alone, embarrassed, outnumbered. You know, it's really about how do we create something hilarious together. And what did you ask me why I told you that? I've now lost my train of thought. Listening.
Luckily, one of us is listening, Claudine.
Luckily, one of us is listening, because I knew I could have gone the whole day speaking about something else, but I'm back on the listening train.
Right.
So because it is such a team sport, because it's really all about collaboration, you have to be the best listener. So the first thing we actually teach you after agreement, being open and receptive, saying yes, is how to listen. And not just listen, hi David, how are you? Oh, I'm fine. Here's how to totally get rid of the agenda, actively listen and be in the moment. I'm here, I'm with you, we're in this conversation together.
Yeah, whether you want it or not, I'm here.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. But what that really teaches you is that teaches you how to get out of your head.
Yeah.
And you know what causes worry, anxiety, all of that? Being in your head. You can't be in your head and be present at the same time.
Yeah. I always say, if you're struggling financially, your bank manager isn't staying awake at night worrying about you. You're staying awake at night worrying about what your bank manager is going to say. He doesn't care a rat's rear.
Totally.
So you may as well go to sleep.
He's got 10 other clients who are giving him money, you know.
You know what they say? If you owe your bank 1,000 rand, you must worry. If you owe them 1,000,000 rand, let them worry.
Totally. So this really is for anyone and everyone. And you know, I don't know where your level of breakdown is. But what we do is we get very clear of what our weak points are. Because I understand that in order to have a breakthrough, you got to break down somewhere.
Yeah.
So yours may be trusting yourself. Mine may be thinking I'm good enough. Somebody else's may be listening. Somebody else's may be collaboration. But the moment you're feeling, oh my God, this is so hard, I'm out of my comfort zone, what am I doing? Yes, because you're aware of it. So now you can go, cool, I'm having a breakdown. This must be my area.
So let me just rebuild from there.
Totally.
Now take me back to Claudine at school. What was she like? And did she know that this is what she wanted to do? Or was she introverted, sitting in a corner, just trying to get through a day without anybody screaming at her?
Are you absolutely kidding me? Okay, so Claudine at school was a round little ball, overweight, didn't care at all what I looked like, popular, loved school, had, thank goodness, because I know it can be traumatic. School can be traumatic. I had a wonderful experience. I did debating and public speaking, and I've always known I've wanted to perform.
Okay.
Ever since. So this is what I'm born to do, you know, to make people laugh.
And you do because you run an organization called Jittery Citizens, which yes, just by its very name sounds terrifying. You walk into the room and everybody is twitching because they're uncertain of what you're about to do or cause them to do or ask them to do.
Or they're uncertain of what we are going to do. We're uncertain of what they're going to do. But it really is Jittery Citizens is the name of my improv troupe. So we do a lot of live performance. I mean, now we do Zoom performances and stuff like that. Otherwise, we do comedy training. I also organize online master classes, excuse me, in collaboration. So a big master class that we've got coming up that I'm so excited about is we joining forces with Comedy Cellar in New York. Now, you know how big Comedy Cellar in New York is, Dave, but not everybody does. Comedy Cellar is probably, it's like the Harvard
of comedy.
It's the Harvard of comedy. It really is. It's like so bloody prestigious. And we are working together with Rick Crome, who is a stalwart at Comedy Cellar. He's performed there and taught for over 30 years. And we are running an 8-week masterclass, which has never been offered in South Africa before. We've cut the prices to make sure that South Africans can afford it. And that starts on Monday night.
Wow. But now, No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say the reason why I am bringing all these courses and offering all these amazing online comedy courses to South African audiences or whoever is in my network watching me, I wish I had it.
I was about to say.
Stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
I started stand-up comedy with my first 5 minutes going, I hope this is funny.
You see, I started I did 7 minutes after I was robbed and held hostage. That was my therapy.
Yeah, totally.
And I knew nothing. I mean, I'd watched stand-up. I'd always wanted to do it. And I suppose the robbery gave me a push. So maybe I should thank the buggers if I ever find them before I beat them to death. That's not funny. But can you teach people to be funny, Claudine? Or do people have to be innately funny to benefit from what you're teaching?
So I love this question because most of my clients, as I've said, are non-performers, people who have never performed a day in their lives. And, improv and comedy it's a skill, right?
Yeah.
And because it's a skill, it means anyone can do it. So if I'm learning the keyboard. Well, I've got a keyboard. It's the piano, right? I'm learning the piano at the moment. I'm on middle C. I'm totally cuck. You know why I'm so cuck?
Right.
I don't practice.
Yeah, true.
I don't have my 10,000 hours in piano.
You see,
I've got my 10,000 hours in improv. So can everybody learn to improvise and learn to be a comedian? Absolutely. Are you going to put in the 10,000 hours to become a master?
Yeah. You see, I've got the same. I've had this melodica, this harmonica in my drawer for I don't know how many years. That's about it.
It sounds good. And one note sounded good.
And I can play along with anything. If I'm alone in the house and a piece of music comes on that I like, I will jam away with this thing that would probably make the world's greatest harmonica players roll over and die of shame. But I think I'm fantastic. I wouldn't take it on the stage with me. In fact, you've given me an idea. I might well do that and play one chord and then move on.
You know what? Can I tell you isn't that hilarious?
It is, because
isn't it? You know what we learn in comedy, which is so liberating when I think of it and when I apply it to my own life. Failure is hilarious.
It is.
Sharing our failures is actually hilarious. And the moment you share your failure, do you know what it does?
Yeah.
It takes the power away from the failure.
It does. You must have had stand-up incidents when you were doing stand-up when things didn't go right, or you get to the crux of your joke and somebody from the back of the room shouts out your punchline because he's seen your gig before.
So, I mean, horror stories. I don't care whether you are Dave Chappelle, you are Sarah Silverman, you are Claudine Ullman, you are whoever. You have been on stage as a comedian and you have learned what it's like to bomb, to die. That's the terminology, because that's what it feels like. you know. And what I'm so grateful that I have learned from doing years and years and years of improv is I'm now becoming a lot more okay with the failure.
Yeah.
I don't see the failure as, oh, this gig is the worst thing I've ever been to and I'm dying and I'm the worst comedian. It's got nothing to do with me half the time. Failure is actually an opportunity for comedy. And because I think of it like that, I go, let me record this gig.
Yeah.
Because if I stuff up or say something magical that's improvised, I may want to keep it.
Yeah, that's always the problem when you're doing that and you forget and you go in with your set, and then something happens halfway through and all of a sudden you're just riffing off the audience and there's new gags being written as you're progressing and you step off the stage and you go, what the hell did I just do? I haven't recorded. I don't remember half because you're in the moment. You're not stopping to take, although I used to stop and go, it's a good gag, I must just make a note of it. There was nothing in my hand, obviously, and I never remembered anything. But if it's a good gig, it can be the best thing ever. If it goes south, you want to go and sit in a corner, not talk to any. You want to take the service entrance out and make sure that nobody sees you between the venue and your vehicle and you getting home.
No eye contact. No
Nothing.
eye contact. Totally nothing.
Nothing.
But this is really what I'm saying. Once you have done comedy for long enough, or once you have especially like studied improv, great, because it gives you the ability to separate the failure from yourself.
Yeah.
And if the failure is separated from you, you can use that failure as an opportunity. Cool, I failed. How do I take this thing and turn it into something good?
Yeah.
Not something that breaks me, because it's not me.
Yeah, this is it. I mean, I remember one of my early gigs at Hysterics at the Randburg waterfront, neither of which exist anymore. But I ran from the back of the room because that's where we used to enter from. And I was keen to get on stage. And as I put my hand out for the microphone, my foot caught the edge of the stage. I took the mic and I landed flat on my face. I wasn't able to put a hand down. I was holding the mic in the air. I didn't want to damage the microphone. I turned around, I sat, the tears were already starting because it was sore. And I took a breath and I went, I've been practicing this entrance all week and I still haven't got it right. And I could have read the phone book to that room for the rest of the evening. Because once I'd done that, as you say, I took the failure, I turned it into a positive, got the audience on my side, because they realized I wasn't going to walk off. And I had one of the best sets I've ever had. I was very, very sore.
Wow. Yeah. But incredible.
Never did it again.
Incredible. Yeah. Physical comedy is not for me. Amazing that you could see that as an opportunity.
Yeah.
Just amazing. And that's really what it is. It's about changing your perception.
Yeah.
Changing your perception, whether you're a comedian or whether you are a finance human, as we said.
Yeah.
And you're putting numbers in that Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah, because there's nothing more boring.
But exactly, how do you not totally fear the unknown?
Yeah. But why is it, for me, the unknown is improv. I've never done improv. I've done stand-up, and I'm comfortable with that because I know if I mess it up, it's me messing up. But I'm always worried that if I step on stage with a group like yours, and they go, okay, what are we going to do with the audience? And they want you to, I don't know, beat up somebody with a lawnmower. I don't know if I can do that on the spur of the moment, and that's my fear. I don't mind stepping on the stage by myself, but I'm fearful in a group, for the group, not for me.
So do you know what's so incredible about what you're saying? All of that fear, I would challenge you to improvise in a group. And the reason why is all of that fear, the moment you start improvising, dissipates, because what you are taught in improv is there's actually no real mistakes. If you say something, if you give an offer that you're like, oh, I failed, like maybe speaking in an accent or doing, you've got 7 other people who go yes to your offer.
Okay.
So even if it looks as a failure, there's so much support around you that you're going, this is hilarious. And I'm hilarious. And I thought I was going to stuff up the whole scene. But actually, because everyone supported my shitty offer,
it's working.
I'm now making magic. I'm making magic, not even just working.
Now, I've been watching AGT and BGT, America's Got Talent and Britain's Got Talent. And they've had some young comedians, and I'm talking 11, 12-year-olds that are writing material that knocks my socks off. I mean, they come on with no fear. They tackle those judges head on, and they are writing really, really funny material. Now, are you finding this? Do you find that are you training youngsters in improv and in stand-up as well, that young?
Yeah, totally. So I currently, it's actually so fortuitous that I'm on today, because starting next week, we've just finished our first cycle, session, season, I don't know what you want to call it, of improv comedy for kids.
Okay.
And do you know what is so amazing, Dave? The same exercises that I play with 5-year-olds, I play with global conglomerates overseas. And do you know what is so wonderful? The kids are incredible. They're learning and getting the same sort of skills of quick thinking, listening with the body, trusting themselves, finding their creative center. They're getting all of that out of improv. But what they don't have is they don't have the filter. They don't have a filter. You tell a 5-year-old to transform into a milkshake, and they will tell you, I am a strawberry milkshake with chocolate pieces inside, and I've got a flaky sticking out of my bum, totally transformed into the scene. And there's just a real freedom doing improv with kids.
Because as you say, the adults are already like, really, I don't know if I can be a milkshake. I'd rather be a cup of coffee, Yeah.
So what happens is this part of the brain that we were talking about earlier gets so ignited from the time we're about 7 to, there's such an emphasis on thinking from here that we actually struggle to meditate, or we struggle to be creative. Some of us will say, I'm not creative, which is the biggest load of shit. We all creative, but we just don't know how to access this. So all we're doing with the kids is this is already turned on for them. We're just brightening it and lightening it and letting them live inside there. For adults, we're really having to, this is how you switch it off and switch this part on. So it's a little bit deeper in the practice.
It's all about play and letting yourself play, I should imagine.
And be silly.
Yeah, well, this is it. Why are we we as adults get that we don't want to be silly. And then when, as adults, we are silly, then people go, hang on a second. Is there something wrong with you? Do you not see that there's a pandemic on? Do you not see that you've got to pay tax or whatever the case might be? Why aren't you being adult? And then I suppose, as you say, then you go back there, because that's all we know at the moment.
There's a time for here.
Yeah.
Pay your taxes. Do whatever. But
be adulting.
Do adulting. Be adulting. But what we're learning through improv, well, what I'm learning from teaching so many corporate and so many adults and so many, and what I have learned is that they've got to just really embrace operating from here. and go. And what I've learned from doing so many corporates is that it's not only about them learning to embrace here, but it's actually it's so possible. It's so possible to always operate from your creative center, to switch it on. I mean, at the moment, some people are like, as I've said, they say they're not creative, and this is only for the weekends when I'm painting like 1 hour, whatever. Yeah. Bullshit. You can operate from here all the time.
Yeah. What is this weekend? What is this weekend of which you speak? I don't even know what day of the week it is anymore.
The only reason I know it's Tuesdays, I'm looking at the top of my screen. So it's I promise you. Thursday.
How do you find comedy for women? I know that sounds really sexist, but I think it is changing. You mentioned Sarah Silverman, my go-to comedian at the moment for a variety of reasons is Hannah Gadsby. I just think the woman is brilliant. I've watched Nanette many times. I've watched Douglas many times. I just think her comedy is clever, it's intense, and sometimes it's very, very scary because you start to laugh and then you realize that what she's talking about is no longer funny. And all of a sudden the room goes stone dead. And I should imagine as a comedian, you have to be able to deal with that silence. Because that's not the norm.
Yeah, well, as a female comedian, we've got to put up with a lot more bullshit than you guys do. First of all, we've got audiences that are very narrow-minded in terms of going to comedy and watching South African comedians. So you say to them, who's your favorite comedian? Trevor Noah. Have you ever seen live stand-up comedy? No. Have you ever seen Trevor Noah? No. So first of all, we've got to understand what our audiences are like. A lot of them still have the feeling women aren't funny. Okay to have that opinion if you've seen women perform.
Yeah. Don't just make an opinion based on nothing.
If you've watched hundreds of women perform and you still like amazing female comedians, like you've said, like Hannah Gadsby or Sarah Silverman or whoever, if you've watched them and you still don't find them funny, let's talk. But it's actually just about educating audiences and audiences being willing and open to listen to women, and men and male producers putting women on their lineups.
Yeah.
And making sure that female comedy is showcased, because there is a huge problem in this country in terms, and not only in this country, in lots of countries, but with the way female comedians are treated and given times and platforms, and it's not the same as what the men are given.
Yeah.
I mean, I personally have had sexual harassment stuff in the industry that I've chosen to speak up about, not speak up about certain incidences. And who do I talk to?
Yeah.
Where's comedy HR?
There ain't.
But there isn't. So either I can choose to let it define me and let it hold me back, or I can say, as a female comedian, I have a really important job to do in terms of the type of comedy that I do, and a job in terms of giving other females a platform to perform, flourish, and grow. And that is a huge focus for me.
What is your style of comedy?
So I'm just finding my voice, to be honest. It's taken me 5 years, but I'm just finding it. My style of comedy is very much, it's clowning, it's character work, it's audience interaction. I'm not a straight stand-up in terms of here's a joke and this is what you're going to get from me the whole time. definitely characters, clowning, very much play in the world of the audience, help create the comedy with me.
Just as a matter of interest, do we here in South Africa have any ventriloquists left?
We do.
Do we?
We do. Do you know Conrad Koch?
Oh, of course, Conrad. What am I saying? Of course.
Yeah,
Chester
so
Missing.
Conrad, exactly. Conrad is incredible. He's got Chester Missing as his puppet.
Mhm.
We have Chick Aljoy, who also does some ventriloquism. He does some hilarious stuff with using humans as his puppets,
I'm
which
just
is
trying
so
to think.
funny.
There is a woman that I saw on BGT.
Yes, I know exactly who you're talking about.
It's really, really wicked because I've seen some of her late night
I can't
stuff.
think of her name, but she's
And
brilliant.
her monkey is so raunchy. It really and
Yeah.
truly is. And she gets away with, she is brilliant. She's probably one of the top ventriloquists in the world, better than Terry Vader, although his profile is bigger than hers. I'm just going to try, while you're talking, I'm going to try and look her up.
Yeah, look it up. I can't remember her name, but what we are getting better at. We're not there yet. What we're getting better at is including other styles of comedy as stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
So the ventriloquist, the deep fried man, the who does a lot of musical comedy.
Yeah.
As I say, I do characters and I do clowning and audience interaction and some weird, bizarre stuff. And I've had a lot of comedians say, that stuff you're doing isn't stand-up. And I go, I've been overseas. As in, I know what they're doing there.
Yeah.
So I'm not concerned what you think.
Her name is Nina Conti.
Nina Conti. Oh, she's bloody brilliant. Everybody must look her up.
Now
she's so funny.
You say you do characters. So step away and step back in as one of your characters. Can I put you on the spot?
I mean, you could, but I'm wearing makeup and doing all this stuff. This is one of my, hold on. Wait, where is my props?
Do you have props as well?
So I actually did, I have lots of props. I actually did a character the other night.
Because I see you've got a guitar in the background.
No, that's my husband's guitar. Let's not get excited, babes. As I said, I'm on middle C of the piano and I'm totally cuck. I'll tell you about my characters. I can't bloody find my props, which was so funny. Oh, where's it? Anyway, okay, I can't find it. But I've got Dr. Shirley Rubenstein, who is a sexologist to the stars. I've got Jenna Deshevelt, who's like a mom of 5, and she's not coping, but she's coping. I've got Gazimofsovitz, went to school with him, and he likes all the hot belters. And I've got an esoteric character, and I've got, so I really get to explore topics from other people's point of view and explore sides of humanity that we don't necessarily like. And then, as Gaza, I can talk about toxic masculinity. I can talk about homophobia. I can talk about, all that sort of stuff, sexual harassment that I can't talk about as Claudine.
Because that was going to be my question. Do people come up to you and they go, I know that character, I know who you've based them on. And meanwhile, it may not be right.
Yeah. They go, I went to school with Gaza. And I'm like, no, you didn't, because I went to school with Gaza.
We all did.
And we didn't go to the same school. But exactly. And then they go, oh, wow. Shirley Rubenstein was my sexologist. And Crystal, who's my lily pad moonrock, who is my esoteric character, is my spiritual healer. So we really are, I really am getting to say the things I want to say in a way that is safe and relatable.
Yeah, and not hurtful.
Well, that's the whole point.
Yeah.
I went on Cliff Central and Gareth was interviewing me, and Gareth was like, why don't you do black characters and black accent? And I'm like, first of all, I don't find it funny.
Yeah.
Second of all, to me, it is racist. It is hurtful. It is, any comedy that is out there, and comedy that's out there to be hurtful is not comedy.
There's a well-known film producer whose name we will not mention, who's just had his movies removed off the Showmax list because of that exact thing. We've moved on from those candid camera type things where you pick on a particular demographic because you know that you will get a certain reaction from them because you are a particular character. And I don't think that's right at the end of the day, because that's not what comedy is all about.
No,
I think comedy, we've got enough problems as it is. When we go to a comedy show, we want to just kick back and enjoy ourselves and not feel belittled or that type of stuff. And I think this is also, and I don't know about here, but I think of people like Lost Voice guy, who won Britain's Got Talent. The man's got no voice. He lost his voice 36 years ago. And the amount of, now I've got to be politically correct, is it disabled? Is that still a word? Challenged?
Yeah.
I'm never
not
sure.
woke enough to know the difference.
No, I'm not woke. There is a very clever Tracy Ullman clip about being too woke to be woke. Look it up. It's on YouTube.
So
it's very funny. But there are a lot of comedians of different abilities in wheelchairs or who are cerebral palsied, and they stand up on a stage and they can make 3,000 people at the Apollo laugh, and not laugh at them, laugh with them, which I think is very, very important. And here, I don't know if we do it here enough. And I don't think, and maybe you can correct me, Claudine, because you mentioned it earlier about a sort of culture of comedy. We don't have the comedy clubs that they have overseas. Here it's always a restaurant that puts on a comedy show, and then people are there to eat and perhaps to watch a comedian or two. Comedians have tried to open comedy clubs and they haven't really succeeded, with the exception of maybe Joe Parker, who's given a platform to a lot of comedians, and they do open mic nights and those type of things. But for the rest, there are very few pure comedy venues that you can go to and just sit and listen to good, bad, or indifferent comedy.
Yeah. Well, the truth is what I'm seeing now during lockdown is how many of my comedian friends are innovating and moving their shows online. I mean, Mark Lottering just sold 15,000.
I know. I've just interviewed Mark. He was
just the best.
He's the most amazing guy, and they thought they'd get 1,000 people to that concert.
Yeah,
and it went wild.
And that is the joy of doing it over Zoom or over whatever platform you're using. Is cool. He's got 15,000 tickets that he sold. That's 15,000 computers. How many people are watching the computers?
Yeah, that's exactly it.
He must have had 30,000 people watching him. To rent out a venue that is a 30,000 seater, I don't know, can cost you R1 million.
Exactly.
If you're renting the Dome or something like that. Whereas this is free.
Well, it doesn't work anymore because while I was waiting to talk to you, I found there was a letter that popped up on my Facebook feed from one of the ministers talking about the new rules and regulations for opening theaters and cinemas. And they're saying you can only open to 50 people. Now, what's the point? And then you've got to clean the venue after every show. So it's costing you more to clean the venue than you're making in ticket prices. And then you still have to pay whoever's on stage. And if it's a production that has 5 or 6 people in it, where's the money coming from? And also, I mean, I was thinking, do I want to put my life at risk to go to a cinema to see a movie with 49 people that I don't know, or 48 if my wife comes with me? No. I'd rather stay at home and watch Netflix.
I mean, totally. And also, I don't want to be responsible for, I don't want to be in the headlines to say 50 people caught COVID at Claudine's show. I don't want to spread this, I want to help flatten the curve in whatever way I can. And for me, as a comic who, even a straight stand-up comedian, it's difficult when you don't have an audience. Now, never mind don't have an audience, mine is audience interaction. So I'm bringing people up on stage and they're performing with me. So what I'm learning how to do is how to say, cool guys, we're going to go live with someone. And what I've actually noticed is people want to go live with me.
Ah, clever.
People want to get involved. They want to be a part of the show.
Yeah.
It's about how I create a safe space for them to feel like they can be part of that show.
But it's interesting,
which is a lot easier in real life.
It's interesting that you mention that, because I watch Graham Norton, for instance. I love the man. I think he's very funny. I love his talk show. I watched his online stuff, and he's not that funny without an audience to bounce off. This is the unfortunate thing. I've just watched him in Eurovision, the new Will Ferrell movie. And he plays himself. And he's terrifyingly bad. He's the worst thing in the movie. If somebody,
I haven't seen it.
Well,
I haven't seen it.
Watch it. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, but you know how I'm feeling as well about online comedy and having done online stand-up. You got to kind of just push through.
Yeah.
So you're pushing through your jokes and you waiting, you in the moment, you like holding space for laughter. Whereas which is difficult because the whole time you're going, oh, that was funny, now I can make a joke about this. So there's not as much improv, I feel, that's going down online. But I feel like if you can conquer it and feel confident and just present your shit with pride, it can be hilarious. It can be hilarious. And I've had loads of great feedback when I thought, oh God.
Yeah.
Nobody's commenting. There's what's going on? No one's laughing. I can't hear anyone. This is going so badly. I'm dying. And then afterwards, thank you. We needed that. We needed to laugh. And I was like, oh, I didn't know anyone was laughing.
Have you ever performed in Cape Town?
A lot. So I'm usually in Cape Town like once every 3-4 months to go do a run there.
Because the reason I bring that up is Cape Town used to be stuff that you got to laugh with in Johannesburg, often died in Cape Town. It's a totally different audience, I found anyway.
I think it still is a totally different audience because obviously it's a lot more international. You've got a lot more international travel there. So like I just did my one-woman show. I've toured the country with my one-woman show, and I just most recently went to go work with my director Rob van Vuren, who is Cape Town based, and performed a few nights at Cape Town Comedy Club while I was there. And you're performing to a totally diverse crowd and an international crowd. But what we try, or at least what I'm trying to do, I can't speak for other comedians, is I want my comedy to work in Joburg, in Cape Town, and New York, and London.
Yeah.
So what I do with my one-woman show is I do my one-woman show verbatim. Sometimes I change a reference from tennis biscuits to
Oreos,
whatever they've got there. Oreo, exactly. So I'll change a reference, like instead of KFC, instead of like whatever, I'll use Five Guys.
Okay.
instead of KFC Streetwise, because they don't have a Streetwise. So I needed something to rhyme. So I use Five Guys for a joke I've got. So I change one or two references, but the base of my comedy is the same.
Well, that's good, because then if it's working both locally and internationally, then you've got a hit on your hands. It's as simple as that.
Yeah. So that is always the point. The point is to go, cool, if I'm doing comedy that's about something that's really uniquely South African, how do I rather change the point of view to be, this is my experience.
Right.
As a South African going through this thing. This is what I have to go through. Rather than talk about something that only a certain section of people will understand.
I've asked this question of most of the comedians that I've had the pleasure of talking to in the past couple of weeks while I've been doing In Conversation with Claudine. And the question is always, have you been heckled? And if so, how do you deal with them?
Oh my gosh, have I not been heckled? That's the real question. You get hecklers all the time. I mean, I once had, so the art is actually with the sort of comedy that I do in terms of audience interaction. The art is really knowing and learning who to pick. Who to pick to interact and play with me. And as I walked up to this guy, I was dressed as Gaza, and Gaza wears, here it is, because I did it the other night. Gaza wears my matric blazer, and he's a matric boy. And, he's talking and he's interacting with all the boys in the audience. And I went up to this guy and started interacting and improvising and playing with him. And I just could see from his body language, I could see how he was sitting. I just was like, oh, the moment I spoke to him. And he went, this isn't funny. None of the comedians are funny. I should have just stayed at home. And what I managed to do was I managed to be like, oh, don't listen to John over here. He's in the remedial class, and anybody who wants to send him to the principal, put your hands up. So I managed to make it part of the comedy and part of this, which I think is, because I am a well-seasoned improvised player, I think I can deal with the heckles. I've learned how to deal with hecklers, right. Whereas I'm not going to let somebody who's heckling me totally throw me off and be like, walk off the stage. I'm going to go, how do I actually make it part of the comedy and respond?
Years ago, there was a venue in Fourways, the name of which escapes me now, and 15 of us were performing there that evening. And I think first up was either Cyril Green or one of those. And when he came off stage, he said, front table, third guy in. And for the rest of the evening, 14 of us picked on that dude. He was so stupid, he didn't realize what sarcasm and irony was. He thought he was part of the event. Every one of us picked on him. And in fact, it just got that people would walk on stage and go, okay, who's the arsehole at the table? And everybody in the pointing, because by then they knew who he was. And he was just lapping it. He never heckled us again because he thought he was part of it. And good for him.
Yeah. I mean, also, the secret as well is to know when to give in to them.
Yeah.
And when to ignore it.
Yeah.
True that's enough. Also, because it not only can it's not even about throwing you off necessarily, it's about throwing the audience off. And as a performer, it is our duty to always be in control and always keep this, this is our show. We got to keep the space safe.
We get paid whether you laugh or not, basically.
Yeah, totally. Totally. This is our space. You're not fucking it up for us.
Exactly. Don't put. I've had one guy vomit literally on my feet on a punchline. And I just stopped and I said,
I mean, you must have gone, wow, this comedy is really working.
No, I just went, I'm not going to finish the gag. You can thank
Yeah.
him. There's no way you can come back from that. He was on a stag nut and he just couldn't hold it in.
You know what we have to deal with sometimes?
And yeah.
We bloody heroes. We actually heroes.
Oh, we're just not wearing capes and things with like a B or an S on our chests.
Totally. Totally.
In wrapping up, and it's been wonderful talking to you. If people want to find out more about you and the work that you do, how do they go about that?
Well, I would say if you are interested in doing any of our online courses, any of our master classes, hiring me for corporates, whatever it is, I would say follow me on social media, just because I always post whenever we've got a new workshop coming up or whenever I'm doing a new show, and that's at Claudine Comedy on all social media platforms.
Great stuff. I've been in conversation with Claudine Ullman. We've been talking comedy. We've been having a lot of fun. And I hope that you that are watching this had as much fun as I've had talking to her. Claudine, thank you so much for chatting to me. And I wish you all the very, very best.
Thank you for having me.